Hello everyone, welcome to AgFlow 6th webinar. I am Mariam with you and I will be presenting for you today. So today our topic will be about genetically modified grain bans and their impact on economies. As you know, Mexico is now on the process of banning completely genetically modified corn at the same time production and imports. Meanwhile, the United States doesn't accept it because the United States is a major producer for genetically modified crops, particularly soybeans, corn, and cotton. And this production presents more than 80% of all the production in the United States. And Mexico is the main destination for the United States for corn after China. Meanwhile, as you know, Mexico is the first country in the world to domesticate corn production, and they want to protect their local varieties, especially that farmers now they turn into produce genetically modified corn as well. So in 2020, President Lopez Obrador decided that Mexico will completely ban this production at the same time as the imports, and now they are in the process of this shift. However, the United States, on the other hand, is still doesn't accept it because most of the U.S. farmers they asking the United States to ask Mexico not to produce, not to apply the ban. So as you can see, Mexico this year increased its harvested area by 100 k hectares for the marketing year 2022-23, and production will slightly increase by 50k metric ton. However, domestic consumption will remain 17 million metric ton higher, and Mexico still doesn't have enough suppliers to supply the market with now genetically modified corn. And there are news that Mexico is now looking for farmers in the United States, Brazil, and Argentina to supply the market with now genetically modified corn. So in conclusion, we can see that Mexico is still pushing its agenda, but we will see if the U.S. farmers will have to align and shift to now genetically modified corn to supply Mexico, or Mexico won't be able to apply this ban and they will continue importing from the United States. To give an example of this situation, we will talk about the case of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka decided last year, President Rajapaksa decided last year that Sri Lanka will shift completely organic, no fertilizers imports, no herbicides imports. All the farmers should produce organic, and the shift was radical in 1 year, and this led the country to a food crisis and an economic crisis. And the beginning of 2022, there were a lot of protests against the government, and this led the president to resign. And now the ban is lifted, and the USDA estimates that rice production will increase by 350k metric ton in the next marketing year. But the problem is now Sri Lanka's population doesn't see the organic production as a positive thing, and it is difficult in the future to shift to organic production because the first experience was not successful. On the question of if the United States will align or not, it is important to mention that there are new markets that are opening for genetically modified crops production. For instance, Kenya now, they will start producing genetically modified corn after 10 years of ban that will be lifted. We will see if Kenya will manage, because there is a big resistance from the activists in the country who don't want to shift, but the United States is supporting the government to introduce the genetically modified corn for the farmers. Also, in the Philippines, the same thing. They are now adopting the genetically modified golden rice. Still, there is a pushback from the activists in the country. So, although the genetically modified grains are widely criticized, the supply deficit caused by the war in Ukraine has pushed many countries to think of producing the genetically modified corn and soybean as well, to increase their their self-sufficiency. But at the same time, it is very criticized from the activists of these countries. So, what I want to show now is that, as we said, Mexico now is on the process of shifting to complete non-genetically modified corn, and I want to share with you the last data on Mexican imports for corn. Um, so, these are Mexican corn imports, and we can see clearly that the United States is still dominating the market. But we can see that at the same time, imports are really decreasing in a monthly basis. We can see that if we compare with each month of the previous year, they are decreasing. They are all on a negative trend. Meanwhile, imports are increasing from Brazil and also from Argentina. There were some imports in July and August, but this doesn't really mean that Brazil and Argentina are offering now genetically modified corn, because we know that these countries are the main producers. And this is why I will share to see the difference between the prices from AgFlow data. And here we have the prices, the corn prices from the United States, Brazil, and Argentina this year, since January. So we can see that before the war starts in Ukraine, the prices were very similar at this point. However, later the United States had still the prices were higher than compared to Brazil and Argentina. And we can see that Brazil is still offering a cheaper corn for Mexico. I want also to mention the case for Costa Rica, because Costa Rica also was trying to ban genetically modified corn imports since 2014, but it was not as well accepted by the United States, and now they import genetically modified corn. However, the local production is shifting to now genetically modified corn. But we will see Costa Rica's import for corn. Well, as well, the United States and Brazil are the main suppliers, and the United States is still exporting corn to Costa Rica. Back to our presentation. From AgFlow Twitter network, we have important news. So on the left, we can see a tweet from Mexico News Daily that says that Mexico will delay the ban on genetically modified corn until 2025. So we can see that it is still hard to find the right suppliers for non-genetically modified crops. Also, we have a tweet from Karen who says that the USDA confirms that 141k tons of corn will be already exported to Mexico in in the next marketing year. For this topic again, we have two two ideas. There are people who support the Mexican decision, and there are people who are against. So we can see here Timothy, who said that in the U.S. Mexico-Canada agreement, trade agreement, this section does not require a party to mandate an authorization for a product of agricultural biotechnology to be on the market. So he's calling the US to let Mexico regulate in its public interest without intervening in this decision. Sorry, this was the tweet. We also have, on the other hand, a tweet from Sizov, who said that he wants to see if this bizarre decision, as he described it, will fail itself, because he was commenting on news that says that Mexico's threatened ban on GMO corn effective in 2025. The USDA said that Biden's administration is prepared to challenge the decree through the US Mexico, Canada, if Mexico doesn't relent. Now, with another tweet from Farm Doc Daily that says that Mexico and the US are reaching for a January agreement on corn import, corn GMO imports. So this is news from today that says that they are that they will have an agreement. So hopefully they will manage to find a proper decision that will please everyone. Here we have a post from GM Watch that says that 10 years of fighting GMO corn in Costa Rica, particularly successful, the GMO-free territories. So I said Costa Rica tried in 2014 to ban completely genetically modified production and imports, but the US didn't accept it at the time. So the US still exports genetically modified corn to Costa Rica. However, the local production is at 92% shifting to now to local seeds. Also, as I said before, we have Kenya where they want to also start producing genetically modified corn, but on the other hand, the High Court in Kenya suspended temporarily this decision, and we will see what will happen, because there are still activists who are resisting against this decision. So this was the presentation for the part of the genetically modified bans. And finally, there are these two interesting tweets that I wanted to also show about soybean dollar soybean dollar program that Argentina is undertaking again for its second year, as it was very successful for the last marketing year. As we can see here, Elena and Gaurav, they said that farmers in Argentina have sold 76% of the soybean production of the last marketing year, and that the country will maybe continue this for 2022-23. This is it for today. If you want more information, you can have access to AgFlow articles that talk about Mexico corn, and we will put them in below. Also, if you like our webinars, please subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on Twitter. And if you have any questions or you want to have access to the data, you can contact my colleague Erwin on Twitter, on his email, or also on Twitter, and this is his phone number. Thank you, everyone. See you on 2nd of January, and have nice Christmas holiday.